The IDF is saying that they have operational plans for an offensive in Lebanon. I mean, they're already struggling to fight Hamas. How are they going to fight Hezbollah and Hamas at the same time? I mean, the Israeli government is begging and pleading for the United States to keep funding its genocide in Gaza. How are they going to uh, be able to fund their genocide in Lebanon?
For more on all of this, we can go across to France 24's Iris Mackler standing by in Jerusalem. Iris, good afternoon. Israel says it's approved plans for Lebanon, presumably to keep Hezbollah in check. What's the significance of all of this?
The significance of this is that we're seeing an increase in the rhetoric as well as in the actual fighting. So yesterday, Hezbollah released a 9-minute video that it had shot by itself of sensitive sites in the north of Israel. That means its drone got in behind Israeli defences, shot the northern pier near the city of Haifa, shot naval bases, and returned. And it put that out as a warning, if you like, to Israel. We are keeping.
Well, that's hilarious. They were able to send a drone into Israeli airspace, capture footage of military bases and stuff, and then able to have that drone come back to Hezbollah. It doesn't seem like the Israeli military is as capable as they want to make it seem like.
A tight watch on you. Last night we heard the Israeli military in response, I think, saying that what they have is a plan for the attack in Lebanon. So you can see the propaganda channel. The thing is that the reality on the ground is an escalation as well. And it's how these two interact that we can't, means that we can't predict the future at the moment. So there are relentless Hezbollah rocket attacks into Israel. As I was coming on air in the past hour, for example, and I heard the IDF saying today that there had been, that's the Israel Defense Force spokesperson, saying there'd been more attacks from Lebanon into Israel than there had been from Gaza during this war. But both sides, and before I get to but, and what we are seeing is that there are tens of thousands of internally displaced people, Lebanese in southern Lebanon, Israelis in northern Israel, who are not living in their homes. But nevertheless, despite this and despite this escalation, it's still an escalation within limits. And what that means to us, or to people who are watching it, is that these limits are that the Lebanese Hezbollah does not attack civilian targets inside Israel. The Israelis limit themselves at the moment to Hezbollah targets, and that is,
Well, unless they also kill civilians in Lebanon, which the Israeli government has done in attacks against Lebanon. And pretty crazy that Hezbollah only attacks uh, military targets, while the Israeli government is willing to attack civilian targets. I guess in that situation, who is the worst group? It seems like that would be the Israeli government if they're all too willing to kill civilians.
they take out Hezbollah operatives. They don't take out ordinary Hezbollah. They don't take out ordinary Lebanese targets. So with that, all of that together, you can say that there are still limits. But, how long with this increase of rhetoric will they be able to hold to those limits? And how can we be sure they won't push each other over one of those limits?
Exactly, because another thing that is going on, which is all linked to all of this, is we had yesterday the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who put out a statement in English where he essentially said he spoke to the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who was recently in your neck of the woods, and he said that it was inconceivable that in the past few months the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Washington, for its part, says it has no idea what Netanyahu's talking about here.
Yeah, because Netanyahu is flat out lying about what the United States is doing. The United States withholding just one shipment of bombs is not the same thing as the United States withholding all shipments of arms. This is just Bibi Netanyahu throwing a temper tantrum.
That's right. That's what we heard from the White House press secretary. So we can see that there is a little bit of friction, either you could say between Israel and the US, or more likely, or more accurately perhaps, between Israel's prime minister and this current administration in Washington. Israel has sent two officials to Washington this week, and they were going to be meeting with high-level administration officials. That meeting has been cancelled. It's being reported in the Israeli media that it's a response to this. So they are there and they're not being invited to the meetings. The two Israeli National Security Council officials are not being invited to those meetings. Benjamin Netanyahu is still going to address both houses of Congress next month. It's not clear. So in a way, his critics are saying he's protected himself still, but you can see that there's a deterioration in the relationship between the two at this critical moment, and that Washington is very concerned about, as it has been since October the 7th, about a second front with Lebanon.